Aesop told the story of the ants and the grasshopper. While the ants worked hard and stored food all summer, the grasshopper played his music and danced away the summer. When the cold came, the ants lived and the grasshopper died. That's not just a children's fable, that's reality. And when I hear preppers telling people to skip the basics, I hear the voice of the grasshopper, and I get angry. I'll warn you now that this is going to be a little bit of a rant, and it's seriously for your own good. So please listen carefully and let this all sink in. I'll try to make this short, but you need to hear it. This might be the most important prepping message that you ever hear. Hopefully most of you have more brains than this. I think you do, but I've made a promise to you to always give you the absolute truth, so here it is. Some guys out there are saying that you don't need the basics in your get-home bag. Let that sink in for a minute. No water filter, no boots, no tarp, no fire, no compass and maps, no cash, no food. That might sound fine if you've got an easy way home, like a short bike ride on familiar streets if your car fails, or maybe a quick walk home, maybe just a little jog. But for most people, that advice is reckless and dangerous. And if you follow it, it could cost you your life. Are you going to risk your family members' safety on the advice of some inexperienced YouTuber? So the 5 basics, let's break it down. A water filter. You can survive without food for almost 3 weeks, but without water, you're done in 3 days. Seriously. You don't need a $200 titanium grail. Even a $20 Sawyer or a life straw will keep you alive. Saying you don't need one is a death sentence. If you can't find water and it's been more than 3 days, you can give it up. You start getting delirious and then you'll drop dead. You need a pair of boots. Your gym shoes might work on a treadmill, but try running across broken glass, mud, rocks, burning embers, or 20 miles of pavement during an evacuation. If your feet go down, you go down. A tarp or some kind of shelter. A cheap tarp can keep you dry and alive in cold rain. Without it, exposure will kill you faster than hunger. Fire. No means of making fire means no heat, no safe water, no signal, no protection. Saying you don't need it because you're not planning to cook is fantasy. Fire isn't optional. It's survival. Let's say you're only 10 miles from home, but you can't make it all the way home. You're tired, whatever. You've got a sprained ankle. And you end up staying there for the night. You need some kind of fire. Fire also keeps predators away. Coyotes, wild dogs, even mountain lions. Without fire, you won't sleep, and you can't sleep in your bicycle. You need a compass. Roads close, GPS fails, firestorms and riots wipe out familiar landmarks. A cheap $5 compass and a map can save your life when nothing else works. I've seen GPS go out, especially your cell phone. Cash. Definitely have cash with you because if there are stores open, the power may be out and cash is king. Especially when the credit card readers are down at the market and you need food. I'd recommend about $800 and more if you can in 5s, 10s, and 20s. That way you're not asking them to make change for a $100 bill because they may not have it. And then you'll have to say either I won't take the stuff or keep the change. Or you'll take more stuff that you don't really want. So let me give you a little testimony or a little history. When the campfire hit, we had a short time to evacuate. We were involved in California's most deadly wildfire in 2018. We took an old mining road to escape. If I hadn't studied maps ahead of time, we would have been trapped in a 4-hour traffic jam. Hundreds of cars inching forward on a 2-lane road while the fire closed in. Some of those people didn't make it. Others had to abandon their cars and flee on foot. Some barefoot and in pajamas, running over broken glass, rocks, and burning embers. Every step was agony. A simple pair of boots and a go bag with spare clothes would have spared them pain and given them a fighting chance. We lost 84 people, but the real number was much higher. The fire burned at 2,700 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to bend a solid steel Olympic barbell in my garage into a U. Think about that. That's a thick bar of steel. Many homeless were incinerated into dust, unrecognizable, never even counted. Even if they'd found them, they would have never been able to identify them. But the point is that they just disintegrated. We saw how this worked when we helped others search their ash-covered lots for valuables. We came across animal outlines of ash where pets had been completely turned to ash. Not a bone was left. That's what fire does. And that's why telling people not to carry the basics isn't just bad advice, it's deadly. And this applies to just about any disaster, not just wildfires. Where the wildfire, you'll have to evacuate 9 times out of 10. And you don't know where you're going to end up. So I had a friend who was evacuated during the campfire. He rushed out of his home and stayed in a hotel for about 45 days because they won't let you back in. We had no experience with it. We thought we were going to get in within a couple of days. But what they have to do is they have to go through house by house by house, make sure that there's no guns and there's no bodies. So he rushed out of his home and stayed in a hotel for about 45 days. That was hard enough and scary for him and his wife. But in the end, he went home to an intact house, and all his belongings were safe. Nothing was touched. The fire had completely missed his house by a miracle. In fact, several of his houses in his neighborhood, it just didn't happen to hit. And fires like that, it's sporadic. It's like tornadoes are like that too. Life was semi-normal for him. He was lucky, and he knows it. He thought he knew what surviving the fire was like. He thought he was a big expert on being a survivor. But he didn't. Not until he read my book. And I only wrote half of what would really happened. After reading the book, he came to me shocked and said, "Michael, you and your wife lost everything and went through absolute hell. I had no idea what you endured. I don't know if I could have made it like you. How did you do it?" So I told him, it's a mental state you put yourself in. It had helped that I had gone through another disaster before the fire, the Loma Prieta earthquake, which sharpened my skills to survive, and I'd always been kind of a survivalist prepper all my life. And that's the point. You can be close to a disaster. You can even be evacuated and still not understand it. You don't understand what happens. You don't understand how it moves or how it works or what the people are going through that lost everything. Until you've lost it all and you have nothing left, you can't begin to comprehend it. I had no clue till I lost everything. We lost our house and everything. That's why I speak up, because bad advice isn't just wrong, it's deadly. And if you haven't lived it, you don't understand how high the cost really is. I have, and I know the price. And here's another truth most people forget, and this is important. Who's to say you can't even go home? What if your house is where the fire disaster started? What if the sheriff has the roads blocked? What if your city is completely gone like paradise and every motel within 150 miles is full of panicked evacuees? In the campfire, thousands never went home. There was no home for them to go to. People ended up in shelters. They went to FEMA housing, the Walmart parking lot, or living out of their cars on their burned lots, living in toxic ash every day. That's why your simple little get-home bag isn't just a get-home bag. It's an emergency survival bag. It's your lifeline, a life preserver to get you by for who knows how long. After a disaster, you don't know where you'll end up. Honestly, you don't know. But if you've got water, boots, shelter, fire, navigation, a little cash, and your meds, and some food, you've got a pretty good chance of making it. Without them, you're at the mercy of the disaster. Oh, and something to defend yourself with never hurts to have either. So here's something else to think about. What if your bug out bag was at home and your home just burned down with all your supplies? Or it's in the evacuation zone and you can't get back to it. Then your bug out bag is gone too. There goes all your grand plans to grab your bag and survive, especially if you just stripped your get-home bag of the essentials that would help you survive. That means your get-home bag becomes your only bag. What was supposed to last a few hours now has to last a few days or even longer. And you just took everything out because some guy on YouTube said you don't really need that stuff. Don't be a fool and follow stupid advice. I care about you guys. I don't want you to do something stupid. Now, I don't think most of you will do this. Most of you have the full bag set up. But there are people who watch certain people on YouTube and they start taking stuff out of their bags. Oh, you don't need this. Oh, you don't need that. The hell you don't. You don't know what you're going to need until you're in it. And if you listen to that advice saying don't bother with fire, don't bother with shelter or water or food or a compass and a map, you're in seriously deep trouble now. Why would all these prepper channels have the same advice? It's the same advice over and over and over. And yet this one genius tells you to ignore the good advice and trim down your get-home bag to almost nothing. A lot of us all agree with the essentials because we have actually lived through disasters personally, not just an inconvenient evacuation notice or read about it in a book. Going to a hotel for a week or two and then coming back to an intact house is not surviving. I'm sorry, but it's not. And that person has no idea how rough life will get for others who lost everything. One man's easy fantasy bike ride home doesn't apply to everyone. That's his fantasy, and when you preach that fantasy as a universal truth, you're sentencing people to injury at best and death sentence at worst. Real preparedness isn't about shortcuts. It's not about pride or fantasy. It's about facing reality head on and preparing for the worst, not just the best case. Prepare for the worst and hope for the best. Pride blinds people. Reality burns it away. Prepping isn't fear. It's foresight. It's wisdom. It's love for your family. It's caring about your neighbors and trying to help them as well. Don't let pride or fantasy talk you out of the basics, because when disaster comes, you won't wish you had less gear. Trust me. You'll wish you had more. I have actually been there several times. I can speak with authority on this one. In the days of Noah, the earth was full of violence and corruption, but God warned Noah, a flood's coming. Build an ark of gopher wood, store food, save your family. So Noah worked day after day, year after year. He cut trees, hammered beams, and filled the ark with provisions. His neighbors laughed at him. There's no rain. Noah's lost his mind. The guy's out there. But Noah kept building. He stored food for his family and even for the animals that he was supposed to put on board. Then the skies darkened. The raindrops fell. The rivers swelled. The ground shook as fountains burst from the below. And the people who mocked him ran to the ark, banging on the sides, crying for help. But the Lord had shut the door. Inside, Noah and his family were safe. Outside, the unprepared were swept away by a flood. The moral of the story? Preparation may seem foolish until the day it's needed. Then it becomes the only sane thing around, and sometimes it's the difference between life and death. Oh, and also, if God tells you to do something, you better do it or learn how to swim for about 40 days. The bottom line to all of this is you must prepare more for what is coming And don't leave out the essentials just because someone says you probably won't need them. The old saying, the best laid plans of mice and men, definitely applies here. You have no idea how a disaster is going to hit. You don't know where the tornado is going to touch down. You don't know how the wildfire is going to cross town. You don't know how the earthquake is going to damage the ground. You don't know. There's so many variables, and you have to do something. So prepare for the worst and hope for the best. Patriot 0 out.